Psalm 19, a psalm of David. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words whose voice is not heard. Their measuring line goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set a tent for the sun, and which comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. Its rising is from the end of the heavens, and its circuit to the end of them, and there is nothing hidden from its heat.
So Nathan read the chapter in your book, and we noticed that you said that you're tempted to worship the sun and the stars and the trees, nature. Yeah. So we don't know if we should fire you now or wait till after the session, or maybe we just hear more. So tell us a little bit more.
Well, thanks for waiting until now to lay a threat down. It's fun on camera. But yeah, I did say that. I do mean that, and I think I mean it in the very best sense of the word, going to what David has written in his psalm, that all of creation declares the glory of God. That in many ways, the loudest sermon, the longest sermon ever preached to the largest congregation ever assembled, 8 billion people on the planet, that God is always proclaiming his glory through his handiwork. And so when I go to the beach or to a park or go camping or hiking, any of those things, I get a picture of who God is.
Yeah, Sharon and I were just at Yosemite just not that long ago, and it's amazing, isn't it, to be in a national park or just to see his creation on display. It just screams at you.
Yeah, and if there is a God who's doing this, I mean, it says that he's creative, he's beautiful, he's powerful. I mean, it tells you all of these things, and yet at the same time, it leaves me with more questions than answers. Questions like, if it's all here, like, what's it for? What's my role in it? If creation is so beautiful, why is it also so brutal? These deep questions of my life, I need something outside of creation to speak in and interpret it for me. Show me what it is, and help me to know what it looks like to live in this place.
Yeah, and by its very nature, creation is limited. I mean, it cannot tell us everything about who made it. And I think of an example of that in my own life is knowing Mako Fujimura. Mako is an amazing Japanese artist, American Japanese artist, whose paintings are brilliant and he's incredibly competent. But when you talk with Mako, you hear more about who he is. In other words, his painting can give a picture of his brilliance and competence as an artist, but you don't know his character and the affections of his heart. And in many ways, creation is like that. We can see the brilliance of God and as a creator, but we don't know his character. We don't know his love and relational aspect. And that's why the psalmist says that he speaks with words and without words. But we need words, don't we?
Yeah, I think the need for those words is it's so well pictured in the fact of nature, the limit of nature and the limit of art. It just leaves us wanting, right? Especially in the face of life's difficulties. It's like we need something more than that.
Yeah. Well, I was even thinking about this in relationship to being a parent and life with my kids, and I've got a son, and part of my role is beyond simply just providing for them, providing an environment, a space for them to grow up. And I could do all that, and they could have every one of their needs met in a really great environment. And yet, if I make no effort to communicate to them, they're going to be deeply lacking. They're going to grow up. I mean, David, my son, he's
just a picture of you sitting on the couch.
Yeah, just there, right? Always there. And I've done all this great stuff, and it's for them. And yet, David would grow up, wondering what it's like to be a man. What does it mean to live? What does it mean to be a human? And longing for a relationship with someone. In many ways, literally right now, bigger than himself. Both a desire for relationship, but also direction of what it means to live this life.
I love the picture of parenting and a child, because it is really clear to us that it's more than just a one moment. You wouldn't think to just sit down with your child and say, here's the rule book or here's the guidebook, read it. It's ongoing, right? I mean, that parenting is ongoing. In many ways, the Bible is that same way for us.
Yeah, and it gives us a picture of who God is that God is a God who reveals himself. He reveals himself, we said, with words and without words, but the words really matter. And it's not just a one time. Even when we go in creation, right? In any walk in the park, we sense his presence, we get a picture of him speaking. But as we read God's word, it's not something he just said a long time ago. It's something he says to us freshly today, to all of life. And the question is not whether God is speaking to us. The big question is whether we are listening to his speech.
I know in the coming sessions we're going to talk more specifically about ways he speaks to us and how we are to be listening. But Nathan, as we wrap up this session, maybe what's one thing that you're hoping that people take away?
Yeah, well, I mean, as impossible as it sounds that a God could speak to us, God who is outside us, who is infinite and huge, and we are finite and small, and I mean, all of this, and that it sounds impossible, and yet it's absolutely necessary for human flourishing. And so, if there's one thing to take away, it's that the Christian life, it doesn't begin with me and my words. It begins with the fact that we have a God who has spoken, who has come to us to show us what it means to be in relationship with Him, how we can be saved, what it looks like to live and to flourish on the place, the planet that He's given to us. And there, in those words, we can find our hope for life.